Love Island USA Season 7 Episode 2. Review and recap. A new day, a new drama. If the premiere of Love Island USA Season 7 was about first impressions and flames, Episode 2 wasted no time in severing those sparks. Romance continued to permeate the air as the sun rose over the Fiji villa. However, fractures were already becoming apparent. Some participants were revealing their true colors, secrets were being meticulously concealed, and islanders were beginning to recognize the repercussions of their decisions. The second episode is the point at which Love Island consistently begins to test loyalty. Certainly, a strong first night can be characterized by caresses and chemistry. However, what happens when temptation enters, secrets become burdensome, and someone you trust discloses a red flag that you were unaware of. The morning after is the focal point of Episode 2, which explores the moment when couples either begin to fortify or begin to crumble under the strain. The morning after, breakfast in paradise. The new day commenced with the customary Love Island tradition of the Wallows preparing breakfast for the girls. Initially, it appears to be a kind gesture: orange juice, scrambled eggs, and crostini by the pool. However, in this villa, breakfast is a strategic component. The individuals you cook for, the people you sit next to, and the people you joke with all send signals. Nicholas, who was partnered with Bella, arrived early and surprised her with breakfast and pleasant conversation. Bella perceived it as a gesture of assurance. However, Nicholas's eyes were already wandering beneath that lovely smile. The subtext was evident. He is not the type to place all of his eggs in one basket, whether they are scrambled or not. Taylor, on the other hand, displayed his southern charisma. With Alondrea by his side, the two shared laughter over coffee, fostering a stronger bond. His cowboy swagger and her sharp humor suggested that they might be a match that could endure, although his obsession with toes continued to raise suspicions. However, the genuine conflict was between Yulisa, Ace, and Shelley. Ace and Shelley engaged in an open flirtation during brunch, even though Yulisa had selected him. Yulisa dismissed the incident with a chuckle, but Shelley was nonetheless aware. The love triangle was already beginning to form, and the cracks in Yulisa's confidence began to emerge with each side glance and playful contact. Jeremiah's charm and Huda's secret. Although breakfast elicited chuckles, a couple was anticipating more profound discussions. Huda and Jeremiah, who had exchanged ardent kisses the previous evening, were rapidly becoming the villa's most coveted couple. Their laughter was effortless, and their rapport was undeniable. However, Huda was concealing a secret that she was not yet prepared to disclose. She had yet to inform Jeremiah that she was a mother. Huda's timing was crucial. She wished for Jeremiah to first perceive her as a woman rather than as the girl with a child. However, her uncertainty was already prompting inquiries. She declined to provide responses when Jeremiah inquired about her life at home, including the reasons for her need for 2 chambers and the nature of her daily routine. It was a quintessential Love Island dilemma for the viewers. When disclosed, secrets of this nature can either strengthen the bond between a couple or undermine trust. At present, Jeremiah was blithely unaware, enjoying the high of a new connection. However, the truth was lurking over Huda, and its disclosure could have a profound impact on her life. Ace's double game. Ace was the individual who was playing an excessive number of hands at an early stage. On paper, he should have been content. He was selected by Yulisa, caressed by Shelley, and had the villa abuzz with his allure. Ace, however, was not content with a single alternative. He informed Shelley that their connection felt like fate, even though she was ostensibly paired with Austin. He capitalized on Yulisa's advances, assuring her that he was pleased with the direction of the relationship. Additionally, when the lads convened in solitude, he suggested that he was merely observing the proceedings. Ace was smooth, but it was insufficiently slick. Quietly juggling women is not feasible at the villa. His double game was soon recognized by both Shelley and Yulisa, as each chuckle, glance, and whisper disseminated like wildfire. Ace was already establishing himself as the season's inaugural adversary in Episode 2. Austin and Shelley's dilemma. Shelley, on the other hand, was confined to a disagreeable circumstance. She surprised everyone by actually enjoying their time together after being paired with Austin by default in Episode 1. Austin was able to captivate her by complimenting her and eliciting laughter. However, the pairing was a disaster for the audience. Austin's off-screen controversy, his bigoted posts, and his history of disrespect made it difficult to observe Shelley fall for his ruse. However, she was unaware of the complete situation in the villa. Austin was merely another islander who was attempting to establish a connection in her eyes. Nevertheless, her heart was not with him. She continued to return to Ace, the individual who had kissed her initially and had spoken of fate. Shelley was entangled in a love triangle that she did not initiate, and both of her alternatives were burdened by baggage: Austin's past and Ace's duplicity. Bella's innocence is put to the test. Nicholas was rapidly winning the affection of Bella, a charming 23-year-old from Hawaii. She felt as though she had discovered something genuine as a result of his flirtatious charisma, his travel stories, and his breakfast gesture. However, Nicholas was not as innocent. Alandrea was already being tested by him as he dropped subtle cues, asked questions, and flirted lightly to determine whether she would respond. Living in her bubble of positivism, Bella continued to smile brightly, unaware. However, the warning signals were evident to fans. Nicholas was already whispering to someone else, but Bella desired to be adored out loud. The surprising stability of Taylor and Alandrea. Taylor and Alandrea were the unanticipated respite in a villa that was rife with drama. Their Southern alliance provided them with a sense of ease that others did not possess. They appeared to be sincerely content as they shared stories and laughed together. Taylor's fixation with his toes was still peculiar, and his cowboy eccentricities could easily become excessive. However, their bond was robust at the moment. They were the only ones who were capable of enduring the first week without incident. Certainly on Love Island, stability frequently renders one vulnerable. The villa at night. The tension increases. The villa's vitality fluctuated as the day transitioned into night. Music was played, drinks were consumed, and islanders were readily drawn to their charms. However, each flirtation was accompanied by a wave of tension. Huda and Jeremiah exchanged another kiss, their connection intensifying. Bella beamed at Nicholas, unaware that he was already conducting experiments in other areas. Shelley shared a laugh with Austin, but she continued to steal glimpses at Ace. Yolisa observed the entire event with a smile that was just shy of her eyes. The initial fractures of the season were established. Every couple harbored a secret, a defect, or a betrayal that was concealed beneath the surface. And as the islanders clambered into bed, viewers could sense it. Episode 3 would feature explosions. What are your thoughts? Is the rate at which Jeremiah is falling too quickly for Huda? Is Ace's double game doomed to fail? Additionally, what is the duration of Bella's time in her dream world before she is jolted back into reality? If you enjoyed this breakdown of Love Island USA, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment with your favorite villa moment. It really helps the channel grow.